read this quote one day and it said that all men dream, but not equally. And those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds will wake in the day to find that it's vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act on their dreams with open eyes to make them possible. T.E. Lawrence. As I read the quote, I'd imagine that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a dreamer of the day who dreamed with open eyes and dared to dream in a time when it was uncommon for men of his race, creed, or color to dream outside the confines of the Jim Crow laws. I'd imagine that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a dreamer of the day who saw beyond the current state of injustices and dared to dream in the face of canines and fire hoses, in the stench of smoldering church buildings where 4 little children were the victims of the opposers' firebombs. He dared to dream beyond the knock at midnight phone call that came while he lay with his kids and his spouse, and a voice on the other end of the line that said, if you ain't out of town in 3 days, we're gonna blow your brains out. Come by your home and firebomb your house. But the great dreamer continued to dream in a climate where violence had grinded Emmett Till's face into a cotton gin over a mere wink. But the great dreamer continued to dream even when the very people that he was dreaming for stabbed him in his chest so close to his heart that he would have died if he would have sneezed. But the great dreamer continued to dream beyond burning crosses, biting handcuffs, and piercing sirens, greeting their violence with a call for peace until a sniper pulled out the piece and silence. And for the first time, his eyes began to close. And simultaneously, a nation of people's eyes began to close and they began to dream, only to be awakened to their own vanities. So my topic of discussion today is, I dare you to dream with your eyes open, focused on not just seeing, but being the dream, not just learning about, but learning from Dr. King to ensure that we never become the dream deferred. Understand that a dream is merely a fantasy if you ain't willing to put in the work to make it to your destiny. So the most important investment that you can possess next to God himself is a sweat equity, because there's gonna be some difficult days ahead, but you can't stop now. I can remember watching documentaries of Dr. Martin Luther King marching from Montgomery, Alabama to Selma over 54 miles. He said his feet was tired, but his soul was rested. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. So I watched as he suffered as a good servant of the Lord. So you can use this as an example anytime that your life gets hard. And if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you gotta keep moving forward. You gotta keep moving toward the dream somehow. He spoke about an urgency then. I'm here to tell you today that the urgency is still now. Different day, same message. Just because the hell we in ain't the hell it's been, don't mean we get to confuse this place with heaven. I'm telling you, sisters and brothers, that the urgency is still now. From 4 little girls being bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama, to 9 people in a church in Charleston, South Carolina that got gunned down. The urgency is still now. From the North Carolina A&T sit-ins in the 1960s to the University of Missouri protests in 2015, the urgency is still now. From Emmett Till's face being grinded into a cotton gin over a mere wink to Trayvon Martin being stalked and gunned down over some Skittles and an iced tea, the urgency is still now. The urgency is still now. The urgency is still now. So no longer can we afford to just see the dream. We have to be the dream. We have to be the dream for every mother who lives on her knees praying that her son doesn't become the next social media sensation, trending topic, hashtag unarmed black man gets gunned down by the police. We have to be the dream for every teen in poverty who's watched the American dream become the ghetto's nightmare, because they live right there off the Martin Luther Kings, where every day you can watch your dreams get shot and buried in the dirt. So we have to be their dream to make sure that they never become the dream deferred. We have to be the dream for a little girl in a South Carolina classroom who got gruesomely beaten by the police in the midst of her classmates and a teacher who was too afraid to speak. But we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Word to Dr. Martin Luther King. So for her, I'll be the dream. I'll be the dream for my grandmother, for every hardship that she had to endure, but she never turned her back on me. So I'll be the dream to ensure that I preserve her legacy. I'll be the dream to make sure that they see my city in a better light light. I'll be the dream for every one of my friends that died before their time. So I make sure that I speak life. I'll be the dream. I'm the voice for the voiceless, the downtrodden and hurting. I'll be the dream till God calls me home and say, well done, my good and faithful servant. I'll be the dream. 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 Because history will have to record that the greatest tragedy during the period of social transition was not the strident clamor of bad people, but the appalling silence of good people. So my good people, you no longer have the right to remain silent. We need you to speak up and be the dream. Thank you.